have not found such faith in Israel. Like the most faith. And Jesus was there for the Jewish people, for the chosen people. It wasn't the Jews that were following the law. It wasn't the people that were doing everything perfectly. Jesus praised the faith of 2 pagans and 1 person who was ostracized from her Jewish religion because she had been hemorrhaging for 12 years. I just really want to point that out to anyone listening who is in a relationship of fear with God, regardless of whether or not you're Christian. God loves you, and God really, really wants you to come to him in faith of his love.
Okay, hello everyone. I want to tell you that this is going to be an episode that I have never done before. And today on this show, I have one of my absolute most bestest friends. And I'm going to tell you, I do not use that term lightly. I have very few amazing people in my life that I call my best friends. And Janelle Laura is absolutely one of them. She is a theologian who focuses primarily on the intersection between alternative spirituality and Christian theology in her research. And she really enjoys sharing her studies and presenting her findings on her YouTube channel at Janelle M. Laura, and we're going to have that in the links here too. She lives in Southeast Georgia with her husband and her young kids, and her and I are literally, like, we talk about this stuff for hours on end per week. Like, seriously, our lives are like leaving voice notes for each other that are not short. And before we get into all of this, I really want to have a conversation about why she's on this podcast, because this is very different. She's not here just because she's my bestie, but because postpartum is this time of profound transformation. It's not just physical, it's mental, emotional, and deeply spiritual. And often women seek this higher power during this time more than ever. And over the last 15 plus years of working with women in postpartum, I've witnessed how this period brings this deep rooted fear and questions, especially for Christian mothers who are exploring practices that they feel like might be a conflict, right? Like I hear, well, if I follow the moon cycles for my menstrual cycles, am I a bad Christian? If I meditate or practice yoga to calm my body, does that separate me from God? Or if my doula practices energy healing like Reiki, am I inviting something in that's really dangerous? And these are like really heavy questions that Christian women wrestle with as they seek wellness and healing in their bodies during the years that are postpartum. And Janelle is here to really help us break these misconceptions and offer clarity as a theologian who focuses on this intersection, which I will tell you, I have never seen anyone ever do this kind of work together, alternative spirituality and Christian theology. And so we're going to dive deep to these myths and fears and misinterpretations that really surround spiritual practices, particularly in postpartum and motherhood. And so with all of that said, whether you're someone who stays true to like the Christian faith, or you're wanting to find a path that resonates with your soul, take what you want, leave the rest, but know this conversation is going to shed some light on so many of the questions that you have been holding on to. So with that massive introduction, Janelle, I love you. Thank you so much for being here.
Maranda, thank you so much for having me. That was the kindest, most generous introduction. I so appreciate you. And I mean, you have changed my life. Like what you teach, all of the work that you do for postpartum women has absolutely impacted me so much, especially with my last 2 births, which were after I met you. Thank God, praise God I met you before I had my second and my third. And it's amazing the work that you do. So I'm so honored and so thrilled to be here and to share what I know with your audience.
Thank you. And you have literally transformed my life when it comes to the conversation that we're having today. Like you blow my mind on the daily. And I'm constantly, y'all, I'll be like, hey, Janelle, what do you think about this? Like, okay, I'm thinking about like, psychics, and like, I'm thinking about like time lapse and like the quantum theories and like we hash out all of these topics all the time. And it's like, it really is such a shift in perspective in the way that we live our life. And especially in like, postpartum motherhood, right? Such a time for change, So many moms feel torn between following their intuition, right? And then their religious upbringing, like they're two separate things, and Christianity. Can you explain alternative spirituality? Let's start there. And is it different than practicing religion like Judaism or Christianity?
Yes. So, Miranda, this is a fascinating topic. And I love that it's a topic that really seems to pertain specifically to women. And I think a lot of that actually has to do, there's a huge correlation, I think, between women feeling this pull towards being more intuitive and the fact that it's the women who give birth and who experience cycles, right? And so I think without getting too deep into it, a man, when it comes to procreation and like the most important thing that we do as human beings, right, which is, give birth and have children and procreate and continue our species from a biological perspective, it's the most important thing we do, right? For a man, it's a very intentional process. Like he experiences an urge, he acts on an urge, and then there's a consequence to that urge, which is a baby, right? And so he can kind of see like, oh yeah, I made the decisions that led to this, right? For a woman, it's like, right, you make the decisions that lead to the creation, but after that, your body takes over, right? And so it's like every month we're experiencing things that we have nothing to do with. Like our body just does them on their own. And then we get pregnant and it's like we have nothing to do with it. The body just grows the baby all by itself. And then we go through this birthing process, and we're fortunate, it follows kind of this, we've given birth a couple times now. So we can recognize kind of the pattern of birth. And like you start with your contractions, and then right before you're going to transition, your body backs off, right? Like you get a break, right? And then you really put in the hard work, right? But then you end up with this baby. And it's like, that was a cycle. Like that right there, birth is a cycle. And so we as women, I think, were really created to experience these cycles, and we feel drawn to them because they are what give us, this beautiful experience of motherhood, right? This really hard, really hard, but also really beautiful experience. And so I think it is something, our intuition is something that I think feels more natural to us because we see how our body does amazing things without any apparent external, like how does our body know when to go into labor, right? And like it's not an external, there's nothing that happens externally, it's all internal. And so we feel this pull to really listen to what's going on inside us, what's going on inside of our bodies, right? And when we call that intuition. Alternative spirituality, to go back to your original question, alternative spirituality is really any form of going internally, right? It's any form of that turning inward, not in a hedonistic or narcissistic way, but turning into the divine within us, right? It's any spiritual practice that is not kind of in alignment with Western Christian spirituality that has really come to the forefront over just the past 200 years. Because I think if we went back to, the Christian church 1,000 years ago, 250 years ago, we would see a lot of these kind of mystical practices. We would see meditation being practiced regularly. Because why? Because people couldn't actually read, right? Like we couldn't crack open our Bible. There actually weren't, even if we could read, there weren't books around. They weren't quite so accessible, right? And so it's like many people couldn't actually make it to church because they lived, in a rural area or what have you. And so what could we do, right? We could go inward. We could pray. We could, speak other languages of God, which we can get to. And so naturally, several decades ago and centuries ago, our spiritual practices were more internal, looked a lot more like meditation, looked a lot more like, this internal prayer, mental prayer is another word for it. But over the last, 200 years, really ever since the Enlightenment, things have changed a lot, and the church has changed a lot. And we've lost that connection, that more intuitive connection to God. And then also we've been introduced to Eastern cultures, right? And so their spiritual practices have started to become, have been introduced to us into our culture. And I think, unfortunately, because of so I'm a Catholic theologian, so I'm going to speak, about the Catholic and Protestants and from that purview, just because that's where I come from. Um, I think because of the internal discourse between Catholics and Protestants that has been going on for so many centuries, we see and because we've been trying to prove that our version of Christianity is the truth, like that our religion is true, because there has been discourse ever since the Protestant Reformation, anything else that shows up, and wants to be perceived as truth or perceived as a viable religion is seen as a threat, right? Because no, my way is the truth, right? And so, again, these are all relatively recent. This idea of something being alternative, this idea of something being an alternative truth is something that is seen especially dangerous in our current religious climate that we're in right now.
This is absolutely fascinating to me. And I think back to the time, even just as children, right? Like if we look back at who we are as children, and I was this kid, I was very much in my body. I was very much into the spiritual realm, and I wanted to know about God all the time. I asked my parents all the time, will you take me to church? Who is God? Like, what is this feeling that I have? And I see it in my own children too. There's lots of questions, there's lots of understanding, like, but this is what I feel in my body. There's a underlying spirituality that exists that is very different from, I'm going to sit down and read this book and I'm going to do this motion and I'm going to show up in church. And like it's a very different way of putting yourself into a position of loving God, right? Like I almost feel like just hearing you speak, we have a very masculine way of like, go to church, read your Bible, do this work.
Yeah.
And that's one way of like, that's religion. And then you have spirituality, which is this deep, profound understanding of who God is within your body and within humanity.
100%. And Miranda, you'll notice that everything that you just named, those are things that are external that other people can see us doing. So the masculine thing, I have to be able to see it. I have to be able to understand it. I have to be able to know it. Right. And so it's like, we can read the Bible. We can, pray, again, as a Catholic, we can pray a rosary. We can go to church. We receive the sacraments, but those are things that are external. And meditation, that internal prayer, that mysticism that, again, was incredibly prominent in the Christian church for that, like 1,000 years. Okay. And maybe even longer. Those are things that are private and personal, and other people don't see them happening. And so, I think in particular, if you are, let's say, a member of a religion that you want to prove that, your religion is better or more true, you're going to focus on those external things that you can do, right, to show your relationship, to show how religious you are, to show how much you love God, right? And then there's a competitive aspect to that as well, which is very masculine.
Okay. So I'm also hearing you say, like, I'm like trying to pick out all of these things. Like, there's so much wisdom in what you're sharing here. In your research, you're saying that what you're finding is fear surrounding practices like yoga and Reiki, and even using herbs for healing, which I am seeing a massive amount of population and the Christian population saying this is bad, this is no good. There's so much fear and misunderstanding around these pieces because of share more with us, because I feel like this is another area of conversation here.
Totally. I mean, the fundamentalist Christian culture, and I use that term very intentionally, the fundamentalist Christian culture is inordinately afraid of the devil. And that is incredibly sad to me. And I think that there is, and I'm going to try to word this in a way that is sensitive, right? I think that is a phenomenon that has been used by the church to instill fear and garner obedience, right? And so there is kind of that, like, we can use that kind of patriarchal argument. And I just want to say that I am part of an incredibly patriarchal church that I really love and I think is aligned, biblically aligned. So I'm not against the patriarchy necessarily. But the devil, I think, has been used as a tool and as a weapon. And, when you look at what inspires emotion in human beings, right? Anger and fear are two emotions that are extremely powerful. And in particular, fear is probably the most powerful weapon that one can use if you are trying to get control over a population, right? And so what I find, as I'm kind of hanging out online and on social media, I find that when someone has something to sell or something to offer, right? When someone has a particular process or a particular methodology, right? Fear is a really, really successful way to get people to do your thing, your way, your methodology, without question. Like it's almost like fear is, this very primordial emotion. And when we're afraid, we're not using our prefrontal cortex, right? We're not being analytical. We're not asking hard questions, right? And so I think as the population has become more and more educated, right? As the population, like we really can read the Bible for ourselves now. We really can, there are so many options when it comes to church. I mean, gosh, like if I want to go to church, I have a church over here, I have a church over there, I have the Baptist church, I have the Methodist church, I have the Catholic church, right? We have so many options that I think, unfortunately, and I'm not blaming any particular person or denomination or religion for this, but I think the devil, right? Evil, the darkness, right? However you want to put that, is really like on the one hand, he's convincing people that he doesn't exist, right? And that we don't even need to worry about that. And that's what's happening really in the New Age arena, which I do like to distinguish between alternative spirituality and New Age. So I think in the New Age, it's all good, it's all light, it doesn't exist. But I think when it comes to on the religious side, I think the devil himself is really encouraging this fear, really encouraging this mode of manipulation and control.
Okay, you just said that there is a difference between New Age spirituality and alternative spirituality.
There is.
Let's unpack that for a second here.
Yeah. Yes. So the way that I define alternative spirituality is, again, just really these spiritualities that are very popular in alternative religions, meaning alternative to like Western culture. So like Christian and Jewish and Muslim, basically. Eastern religions such as Buddhism, Hinduism, they offer alternatives, right? They have a completely different form of prayer. They have a completely different way of interacting with the world and in nature. It's certainly, there are things that I don't agree with, but we have studies, like we have data that show like how good meditation is, how good yoga can be for the body, how good Reiki and energy healing can be for the body. There is like hard objective data that tells us that these things are beneficial, right? And so alternative spirituality to me just means more of this, this reminder of this more internal spirituality that isn't quite so dependent on those external signs of holiness and morality. Because again, one of the arguments against Eastern religions is that they don't have the same codes of morality that the Christian religions do. They really aren't quite so moral. But that means that they don't have to show off to one another, right? And so, anyways, we could go into that further. But yeah, there is a difference. New Age spirituality is it's kind of this very specific movement, and they call it New Age because we're going from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, and that's a transition that happens every 2100 years or so. And so at the time of Jesus's birth, we were exiting the age of Aries and entering the age of Pisces. And so Jesus kind of ushered in the Piscean age. The New Age spirituality, what they claim is that Christianity was for the Piscean age. We're moving into a new age, the age of Aquarius, and we no longer need Christianity. We no longer need organized religion. We no longer need Jesus. And really, it also really promotes this belief that we are God, we are manifestations of God, that God is everywhere. It promotes this kind of pantheism. There's a lot that's kind of what I would consider spiritually dangerous in specifically New Age spirituality, because kind of their claim is that there is no darkness, it's all light. And, through reincarnation, it's just kind of God wanting to experience everything. And so really what it leads to is kind of this like never ending evolution of a soul, right? And gosh, I don't know. To me, it sounds like hell, actually. Like, I'm like, oh my God. So, like, in this lifetime, I'm a girl. And the next lifetime, I'll be the boy and I'll be the husband or I'll be the father. And in this lifetime, maybe I'm experiencing lots of blessings, which I am. And then the next lifetime, maybe I'm going to experience a really hard life because my soul wants to evolve. And I'm just like, I don't want to do this again. Like, I don't, no. Like, I'm like, that sounds like hell to me, actually. And so again, being sensitive to anyone who has alternative beliefs, I totally respect that. But I think specifically speaking to Christians who see that and they're like, that is not what I believe. There's also there's so little evidence for New Age spirituality. And so anyways, I that's why I am specific when I call it alternative spirituality.
I love it. I love it. I am in the middle of reading this beautiful book. I am nowhere near done. I'm actually just in the very beginning stages, so I don't know if I can necessarily recommend it yet, but it's called The Way of the Rose. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but it's talking about the rosary, the Holy Rosary, and how it's been used throughout different traditions around the world, even before Catholicism came along to use it. And it was talking specifically about the differences between prayer and meditation, particularly again between man and woman, where, back in the day and the time of hunting and gathering, men were needing to go be silent and they walked away and to hunt, and they needed to sit in the bush very quietly and they had to still their mind. And so that became their meditation and their way of connecting in with God. Whereas women, on the other hand, are very social beings. Actually, if we weren't around other people, it was a warning sign for us.
Yeah.
And today, even today's world, right? We see this in motherhood. We feel so alone. And what does that trigger? Our mammalian brain that says, warning, something isn't right.
Yes.
And so what we did is we practiced the Holy Rosary by repetition, by ritual, by saying a prayer over and over and over again, oftentimes not just within ourselves, but with others too, right? And so we did that while we were scrubbing dishes, while we were gathering food for our family, while we were bathing our children, right? That is what we did. And it was such a beautiful, way of looking at almost like the Eastern kind of way and versus the Western, and New Age versus, the alternative, which when I hear you say like alternative spirituality, I'm really wondering, is it alternative or is it just returning back to our roots?
Totally. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's just spirituality, but in our culture, it's alternative.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I have to ask you for there's so many moms out there in postpartum, whether they're, a provider or a mom who's really drawn to practices like meditation or energy work or following these natural inner rhythms of our bodies. What does the Bible say to Christian moms who might be afraid about embracing these things? Or what does the Bible say anything about meditation and energy work? In particular, that would make us say, no, this is not okay. Or maybe that this is a way to follow.
So Miranda, I just have to say, I love everything that you just said regarding it's historically dangerous for women to be alone. And I mean, you and I are both kind of outdoorsy people. So I feel like when I go hiking, and especially alone, intentionally, you want to be making noise, right? Because you want to scare away predators.
Oh, that's so huge here. Sense. I teach my girls this all the time, living in Alaska, right? If you're going outside, you better we wear bells on our shoes. So you're constantly making noise, right? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, total thing.
It's a total thing. And so I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense that at some point, you're walking with a group of women or, going to take your children to the creek to bathe them or get water. you run out of things to say, so you're going to say something rote, like maybe you'll sing or maybe you'll pray or right. And so that makes perfect sense. And so you're right. This is just like root spirituality. This is just human spirituality, right? But again, for the purposes of conversation, we have to call it something. What I love about this topic and the Bible is, we do have to remember that the Bible was written by men. I do believe that it's the inspired, word of God. But we also have to remember how limited the word, the human language actually is to translate God. Okay, right? So I think that's something that we oftentimes forget is that, oh, this is the word of God. Like, this is literally his word. And it's just like, no, language is so limited and God is not limited. And so for him to limit himself to our language, number one, it's so merciful the way that he reaches out to us. And I think that's just an indication of our merciful and loving God. We have to remember that no language is fully translatable, right? And the words are constantly changing meaning, right? And God is eternally translatable, right? Like anyone can encounter God, and God never changes. So that right there shows like how limited language is in translating God. That's number one. Number two, it was written by men who lived in very specific cultures. A lot of the things that we're talking about right now, they didn't even know about, right? Like, a lot of the arguments against energy healing, for example, will say like, well, there's no discussion of quantum healing in the Bible. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, physics isn't actually present in the Bible because they didn't realize that existed, right? And so what I love about this conversation is the fact that the Bible actually says shockingly little about even energy healing. It mentions astrology exactly one time, right? The verses that people use to argue against alternative spirituality is like the verses that are against sorcery and witchcraft. But again, I think that those are talking about very specific phenomenon, such as people actually using spells, people actually trying to control the future, control other people, right? And so even like the Catholic Church, they have this big book, it's called the Catechism. The only thing that they say about astrology and kind of these again, alternative things is they don't agree with it because we shouldn't promote anything that attempts to predict or control the future. Right. And so energy healing, even astrology, because I don't use astrology in a predictive way. But yeah, all these alternative forms of meditation, right? None of that falls into that category. Right. And so I think that is something that is really important for us to remember too, because we have to remember that the Bible is a religious book, and the Bible it doesn't talk about every single aspect of life. Right? Like, we don't really find recipes in the Bible, right? Like, we don't really find math in the Bible. Like, certainly there's numbers, there's allusions to things, right? And there's allusions to, the food that people ate and things like that. But like, it's not this, it's the Bible, unfortunately, I wish we had one, but it's not like this manual for all things regarding life on earth. Like, that would be really nice.
Bodies. Like, there's nothing in there about
nothing.
Men's bodies too, really, right? Like,
really, biology is not present.
Not at all.
Right. It's not about the medicine.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a book of God.
I love that.
And that's important to remember. There are limitations there.
Okay. So with that noted, which is so incredibly important, like with that noted, this is the book of God. It's not a manual on necessarily how to live your life. It's a manual of how to be with God, right? Not what you need to cook, not what you need to say, well, in your prayers, although we love to quote the Bible, like that's really important, even in my spiritual practices, things like that. But it's not like telling you exactly how to heal your body as a woman. I actually met someone very recently. She has been a part of the church for a very, very long time, many, many years. She plays a big role in her Christian church. And it was a thread on Facebook. I actually know her very personally. We went to high school together. And somebody had mentioned like, oh, I would never, ever like use herbs to heal my body, especially like in postpartum. This is such a raw time. I need to be deeply connected with God. And she was like, wait a second, like, are you like, really, are you are you that close to healing your body? Because I don't know about you, but I've read the Bible multiple times and nowhere does it teach me how to heal my body. And I have to take action for myself. I have to do things for myself. Otherwise, if I don't, and this was a key component, if I don't, then I know that I'm going to fall away from my faith and I'm not going to feel good about prayer. And I'm going to go to God begging for help and support and not feeling seen. And it's going to just bring in a bunch of struggle rather than the opposite, which could be also true where I just feel so good being connected to God and know that I'm deeply supported and seen and all of the things. And it was just kind of a revelation for many people who were on there. And of course there was, it's Facebook land. Everybody's going to fight about something. But
Yeah, Miranda, it does. Something that I will say is that the Bible, I will say that it does tell us how to live our lives in some ways. Typically, though, it's in relationship with other people.
Yes.
Right. And so that's a really important distinction. Like it does say, husbands love your wives, women respect your husbands, and right. And there are just triggering. I was like, that was just the one that came to mind, but I just realized I might have opened a can of worms there, so I apologize. But there are distinct. I mean, it says like don't drink too much, don't get drunk, right? Don't lie, right? Lots of instructions. There are lots of instructions actually for living your life. But when it comes to
right? Like, Ten
Commandments, 100%. But when it comes to specifics, like there are lots of laws in the Old Testament, but unless you're Jewish, we are no longer bound by the law, right? And so, right. So if you are a Christian, we believe in Christ that he overcame the law, fulfilled the law. And so, yes, there absolutely are ways that we can live, but those instructions are for us, right? Like my life is better if I get married and to the right guy and stay married and we have children together, right? And that we have this kind of godly relationship. My life is better if I don't drink too much. My life is better if I don't lie and if I don't, what have you. And really the commandment that was given to us is love one another, right? Like that's the most important commandment. And so if I live a life according to love, that's going to, of course, benefit others, but also it's going to benefit myself. And so I hope that people don't see those instructions as like, things that are limiting, but things that set you free. And I think that another way that we really can love ourselves is by loving God and by taking advantage of all the gifts that he's given us in nature and on earth to heal ourselves, to take care of ourselves. So I have no idea where the idea that herbs are dangerous or evil or sometimes against God, that is completely foreign to me. I couldn't imagine how someone could come to that conclusion.
It's the same with yoga. It's the same with meditation. It's, and I think right now we live in a world full of massive fear for all of the reasons that you've stated earlier and for reasons of just simply not knowing. And oftentimes when our society doesn't know something or we're unfamiliar with it, or we think that we've gone down the rabbit hole and researched all of the pieces when really it's just like components of, or it's like the textbook version of, not the real life version of. And I'm guilty of this too, right? We all have these where we, think we know something and then it's like, whoa, okay, that was a smack in the face. Clearly I don't, right? Like I have those often. We were actually just talking about this, like, wow, I can't believe I was so immature a week ago, right? I learned so much, right?
I hate myself 2 weeks ago.
It's so funny. And okay, I'm loving everything that we're sharing here and seeing. And I'm going to bring in the movie Frozen 2 because we're all moms here. We've probably watched this a million times. But like the opposite of love is not hate, it's fear. And so you just mentioned like, how the Bible teaches us to love one another. It's all about the love, and living in a state of fear will not bring us closer to that love. It would just separate us even further. And so if we're living in the constant state of I can't live with God's gifts of herbs and living with God's gift of meditation and living with the God's gift of knowledge that we are all energy, or that we have a literal moon cycle that is synced with our menstrual cycles as females. I mean, I look at those and I'm thinking, oh, what a beautiful, beautiful God. Thank you for such incredible gifts that I get to use to make my life better, to be able to love more deeply, love God more deeply, love my family more deeply, love my neighbor more deeply.
Mm-hmm.
And so for anybody listening in, like if you're feeling, this call, if you're like, okay, I really have to, I'm tuning in, I'm paying attention, like this is really calling my name. I'm going to tell you, Janelle dives into the science. She dives into these conversations a lot more deeply. And she has an entire YouTube channel that she has now. Can you tell us a little bit about your YouTube and like what you do and the conversations you're having and where people can find you?
Sure, Miranda, thank you so much for this. This has been just so incredible. And I always love chatting with you. But, I think something that I love about your audience, and I know because I've been a member of your audience for several years now, but something that I love is that these are women who really love other women, right? Because it's like these are providers, these are women who are willing to be with other women through the most important time of a woman's life, which is like that transition into motherhood. And it is so sacred. It's so beautiful. And so I know that anyone listening really loves and wants the best for themselves, their children, and other people. And so I can really understand, this desire to not go into the darkness, right? To not do the wrong thing, right? Because I think a lot of us, in particular as women, we have experienced people doing the wrong thing to us, and people
Mm-hmm.
operating in the darkness and operating from a place of fear or malicious intent, right? And so I just want to say that, God says so often in the Bible, do not be afraid, right? And something really important too, Miranda, before I dive into to where people can find me, I just want to say, so in the Bible, it says, do not be afraid so many times. So God really wants us to be operating from a place of love and not fear. That much is clear in the Bible. If you get one thing from the Bible, it is a story of love and not fear and triumph over fear and death. But the other thing that I love is that in the New Testament, Jesus praises three people for their faith. Only three, where he praises their faith. Okay? Two are women, one are men, two are pagans, and one is an ostracized Jew.
Mm.
Okay? None of the people that he praised their faith, actually, to the Roman centurion who was a pagan, he said, I have not found such faith in Israel. Like the most faith. And Jesus was there for the Jewish people, for the chosen people. It wasn't the Jews that were following the law. It wasn't the people that were doing everything perfectly. Jesus praised the faith of two pagans and one person who was ostracized from her Jewish religion because she had been hemorrhaging for 12 years. I just really want to point that out to anyone listening who is in a relationship of fear with God, regardless of whether or not you're Christian. God loves you, and God really, really wants you to come to him in faith of his love, right? And so again, whichever path you're choosing to approach him, go for it. But I just wanted to point that out. I hope that's okay.
I have goosebumps. I'm so glad that
Mm,
you pointed that out. Thank you.
Thank
Like you
you.
literally, okay, this is weird. You have two doors behind you. Like I'm
Yeah.
like thinking you can choose love or you can choose fear.
Mm, Yeah. Yeah.
For
Well, in
those of
my
you who
house,
are
you can
listening
choose the
into the
bathroom or
podcast,
choose
you
the
don't
club.
see her. You don't see her. She has literally two doors behind her, right? Like
Yeah.
take your pick.
Right. If you come over, you can choose the closet or the bathroom. But in life, choose the door of fear and the door of love, or the door of love. I love that. Um, Miranda, I just so appreciate you having me on. I am really intentionally trying to grow my YouTube channel. I just really want to get this information out to as many people as possible. I think, if I were probably smarter and had a better strategy, I would reach more women on like Instagram and TikTok. But a lot of the arguments and a lot of the like fundamentalism that I'm seeing in the Christian world is happening on YouTube. And I just really felt this strong call of just like, I need to go where the fighting is. Like, I need to go to the front lines, right? And so I'm really intentionally growing YouTube right now. And so anyone can find me at Janelle M. Lara at Janelle M. Lara. So youtube.com/, and I'm sure that'll be linked below.
Oh yes.
And yeah, I'm just putting out my research. So I already have a YouTube video on there about Reiki and the church. I have another video, why are Christians afraid of astrology, which is a big one.
These are hot freaking topics.
Hot
my
topics.
word.
I'm tackling all the hot topics. Miranda, next semester, I'm talking about the truth about the traditional family. So maybe we can chat about that. But yeah.
Okay, this is a conversation we have to have. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, it's like I am just like every button, all the trigger points, like I'm just like chomping at the bit. So that's what I'm up to, and that's where people can find me. I would be so honored if you hang out with me there.
Go follow her. You have to follow her work. And honestly, thank you so much for being here. Beyond the fact that you're my bestie, like I am just so grateful for your conversations and everything that you're sharing here. So may it help people find God even more so. Thank you.
Thank you, Miranda. And the feeling is mutual. You are one of my favorite human beings and definitely someone that I call a best friend. That's a big topic.